you something. It's not part of the stream either, but I gotta show you. Check this out, baby. Look how fluffy this cake is. Look at this. Look at this. Look how nice and fluffy that cake is right there, baby. Huh? 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 Yeah? You don't get this? You don't get that cake in a store. No way, baby. I make that cake. I'll be back in a minute. Whilst I devour this lovely snack. Talk about what I did today, which I spent like 2 days trying to figure out how to do something. And basically, make a long story short, I managed to get it done. Well, I didn't actually do it. Well, I did something. It's better than nothing, right? Oh man, that cake is so good. I was supposed to make that cake like 2 weeks ago. But no, I'm too lazy. So, last night I said I was going to actually test my interferometer, and I just don't have the ability to do that. Not that I don't have the ability to do that, I don't have the motivation to do it because I've been so busy building it. Or actually getting the design right, you know? There's a very important aspect of the design of this thing that I have not seen anybody do online on the internet. There's actually a couple things that I haven't seen anybody do. I've already made one discovery in the process of working on the design and building this thing. And I was like, what is this light doing? You know? It's not supposed to do that. And I'm like, dude, I need to do this so I can do my experiment. And the light says, no, you're not going there. I'm not going to make it easy for you. You've got front surface mirrors, you've got regular mirrors, you've got glass mirrors, you've got plastic mirrors, you've got metal mirrors. You've got magnetic mirrors, you've got electric mirrors, you got mirrors up the yin-yang. The one thing I haven't really tested yet is the copper mirror. Now, I know what the aluminum is doing, okay? That just throws me for a loop, and I still, you know, I got an idea. But I looked at it and I'm like, okay, this is not right. What the hell is going on here? So whenever I work on something like this, when something happens that I don't understand, you got to figure it out, you know, because it affects your project. You know, when you're reflecting a dot, and the dot says, "No, you're not gonna reflect me today. I want to be a line." I'd be like, huh? What's going on here? I wasn't born yesterday. This is supposed to be a dot, not a line. Now, obviously, the answer to the problem is that the metal has acts like a diffraction grating. Now wait a minute, because when you point the laser at the aluminum, you can see the dot on the aluminum, but its reflection is a line. I tried it against some other metals, and I'm like, you know, the painted surfaces, I don't know. I haven't explored this because I want to build my interferometer, you know. So I've got highly polished aluminum. I've got copper downstairs, which I'm not sure exactly what to do with. Okay, so the aluminum is a better reflective surface when it comes to shorter wavelengths, like ultraviolet. The copper is a better material when you're trying to reflect wavelengths that are around the infrared range. So I learned about this, and you know, you gotta know this stuff. You can't just kind of go in here like willy-nilly and say, okay, I'm gonna do a project, and then you got all these problems. You have no idea what's going on. You don't want problems to begin with, you know? The first thing I do, I set up this, what I consider the front surface mirror, and I was going to use aluminum. That's what they use, you know? But it's highly polished. My aluminum that I was using, yeah, it's not highly polished. Okay, fine. So, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm getting closer to getting the two mirrors up. So basically, if you'd follow my progress, I have two mirrors on the top. I have the beam splitter and the mirrors 1 and 2, I call. The mirror 2 is the calibration beam mirror, and mirror 1 is the test beam mirror. And so the two mirrors on the top bring the source light down into the beam splitter. The beam splitter splits it up between mirrors 1 and 2. And then they recombine in the beam splitter and go out to the detector, whatever you're trying to detect. So there's that story. But right at the get-go, I reflect this laser dot, because you use the laser dot to tune your system. It centers everything in your system. It makes sure that there's no anomalies and stuff like that, you know. And I am going to have some anomalies. But I did find a couple of front surface mirrors from some scanners. And we're going to have one stream that's totally nothing to do with except for diffraction. We're going to do like a diffraction stream. Diffraction and refraction. So, for example, when you see the pyramid on this setup here. If you send a radio wave towards the pyramid, well, this one's got a point, but if you send a radio signal towards the side of a mountain, what will happen is it will refract over the mountain and will bend downwards on the other side of the mountain. So that's a type of what the hell do they call it? Because I haven't been in my amateur radio for a while. It's a type of transmission. It's not so like line of sight. So you can do that with frequencies. You can point the signal at a mountain, and the mountain will, part of it will bounce back. It'll bounce up into the sky. The other part will refract over the mountain and go back down over the other side, and you can hear it. That's either called refraction or diffraction, one or the other. That's with radio waves. Now you can do that with light waves, and you get what's called the slurring effect, which has these pictures of air density and all this other cool stuff. And we got to incorporate that into the system once I get things going. There's audio waves I want to put into the system. There's slurring system. There's visualization of the magnetic polarization of the light wave going through the cavity, the tuning cavity. The tuning cavity also is going to incorporate Faraday, which attempts to pick off the electromagnetic signal directly, which in this case is magnetic. And maybe we can set up a grid system in that cavity and see if we can pick off some static electricity. We can, I don't know exactly, so the magnetic beam is parallel to the way of travel. The electric beam is perpendicular to the way of travel. So if the light goes from left to right, the electric part of the light is up and down, and the magnetic is kind of like it's into the screen. It's on that z-axis. And that all goes with time. So there's a bunch of different things happening, and I'm combining some stuff. I may be going a little bit over my head with the combination of things, but I don't think so. I think I can put these things together. Not only that, I'll have the space to put in my filters. I finally got a filter wheel taken apart, and right now it's in a soap detergent bath getting cleaned. It's got a bunch of glass mirrors and stuff, the glass windows and stuff on it. I don't know about those mirrors. I can take them off, or now that I'm thinking of it, those mirrors would add refraction, so that's a problem. And what I'm wanting to do is I've got filters that I want to insert up in there. So I may have to just cut the filter out and put it in those, I got coin holders. And so I'm going to make some filters up and put them in the coin holder, and then devise a method of inserting those filters into the beam at different points into the beam. We're going to do it, we're going to run a lot of the experiments in room temperature, and my setup's going to be open. That way we can find out, okay, do we get more noise if we put this filter here or if we put it there? Do we get more noise depending on the polarization? Can we actually change the polarization? And, we're doing things between the test signal and the calibration signal. So there's some, I could almost do the entire project right out in the open. And that's actually what's going to happen, is the project's going to have this setup where it's going to be right out in the open. But I don't know about, and it's pretty quiet here. I've got no company and everything right now, and it's quiet, and I won't have any vibration issues. And so there's that aspect of it. why am I even talking about that? Alright, so I was working on what's called the backing plate for the mirrors 1 and 2. So a backing plate, what that is, it's the bottom of the mirror setup. So you got mirrors 1 and 2. The mirror that's down on the bottom is the calibration mirror. And so the calibration mirror sits up on a set of springs. And so the springs go outward at 45 degrees from the corners, and they will connect to a screw, which I can turn to adjust the position of the dot on the screen to calibrate it. But I don't have a way of affixing this to a magnet. It's going to be on the bottom. It should be affixed with a magnet so it doesn't move. Actually, this one has a hole. Alright, so this one, the one that's in the case is going to go on the front, and that goes right to left. This bottom one actually has a hole on the side, and maybe I can use that as the bottom, or actually, would that be, yeah, because that little round piece I want on the bottom, so it moves back and forth, it slides back and forth easy. It would, it's under, so when it's sitting there, it's under a lot of tension, and so I want the rounded edge to be away from the tension, so when I pull the mirror back and forth, it's going to sit there under tension. There's that part. So I don't know, like the front mirror is going to be on a track, and that sliding section, I'll bring up my camera now and show you exactly what I'm talking about here, if I can find my setup here. Right, so what we have right here is the bottom of this backing track. So I actually got this out of a toy, and I cut it to size. So there's some miscellaneous stuff back in there. It's no big deal, because this part here is going to be on the bottom, and the mirror backing is going to set on the bottom. There's going to be 4 screws around each corner, and off the screw is going to be a spring on each corner, and the spring is going to be tied to the mirror mount. I hope. The mirror mount is going to be up here. It's going to be like less than an inch. The total distance from the bottom to the top of the mirror is going to be like 1 inch, because I don't have a lot of room to play with up top. I got 15 inches. And my mirror distance is 12, and my other mirror distance is 2, so that only gives me 1 inch to play with. So like, I'm really scrapped for space in my unit. So the screws adjust the position of the dot when it reflects back to the beam splitter and whatever. So here you can see there's a diagram. The square on the inside is the dimensions of the front surface mirrors that I have. I have 2 of them. And if you look closer, there's actually holes in the corner that will contain the 440 screws, and the spring will tie off the end of that screw. And I'm thinking now that I'm not going to have enough room, because I forgot that I've got to extend out the mirror holder enough to drill another hole so I can connect the springs to, and the damn springs are going to be too short. And there has to be a spring there. So what the hell am I going to do now? Unless if I raise the mirror, I could raise the mirror a little bit off of its holder and put the plate underneath the mirror, leaving a space, so it'd be like you'd have well, this is not a very good example here, is it? Let's say that this thing here is where the mirror is. this is the backing plate here, and so there might be like another block that is shorter underneath in order to allow the distance from each corner so that the spring can be out at 50% of tension. I may have to do something like that. It's like, you know, I only got so much to work with, and I spent 2 days, almost 3 days, on figuring out the design and building this and figuring out how to set the mirror on a spring and adjust it and everything else. So that's what I've been doing, and it's done. All I gotta do is build it now. So yeah, and you know, you can see back here, this is my lab, and this is where I got all kinds of really small screws and stuff. These are the 440s. These are 440 screws, and you can't even, you can barely see the threads. They probably will be good enough for what I want to do. I discovered a couple other screws that are Phillips, which is a good thing. And these are even smaller than the 440. And I'm thinking, I've got 2 of them, and I'm thinking I'm going to use these for the mirror setup in the tuning cavity. Yeah, what's that deal? As you can see, I've got audio generators, I've got meters, I've got attenuators, I got oscilloscopes. All my electronic stuff is on the top of the shelf. I've got resistors, capacitors, inductors, integrated circuits. I got everything I need that I've collected over the years to build this thing. And so that's my progress. Tomorrow I'm going to, I don't want to do it tonight. I'm going to work on the backing plate, figure out how to support the mirror so that I can get the spring at 50% tension. The spring is going to end up so like this is a spring, and at first what I was going to do is use this idea where the spring is up and down and the washer goes over towards the mirror and moves it up and down. And as you can see, it's a very nimble spring. There's not a lot of tension, but there's some good tension there. And so the spring is used to dampen vibrations coming into the system. And those 2 mirrors are the most important mirrors in the system. So you want them, and then I'm also going to use some foam underneath the backing plate when I figure out where the beam splitter is going to be, and I know where the center dot is. Somehow I'm going to firmly attach that backing plate to the floor. And even with the backing plate and the piece of wood and the metal and everything, I'm going to be really cramping for space. I want 12 inches from that beam splitter, and I'm even wondering if I'm going to get it or not, you know? I think I can squeeze out another inch, because if you do the 2 inches on a diagonal, I think you get the square root of 2 on the sides. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C squared equals 4. The square root of the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. The hypotenuse is shit, that's not right. That's a different number. I don't know. The top mirrors are going to be at 45 degrees, so it's going to be less than 2 inches on the top. I may be able to get another inch out of that, because those mirrors are going to be angled at 45 degrees. I hope. I really hope. I want my 12 inches, you know? So, yeah. And I didn't work on the lens for the tuning cavity on the end. I want that to be connected and movable somehow. So I gotta figure out how to do the filters, the polarizing, how to get them into the system. For now, I think I'm going to just develop a stand so that I can put the filters in the path of the beam and work with some stuff. And that's it. That's what I worked on for 2 days, is that backing plate. I am done, and I am thinking that what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some guitar, I think. I thought about playing a game, but my brain is too fried for that. I think the progress is going good. I'm happy with it. And it's a little bit warm in here. And I haven't done anything with music for like 2 weeks or more, you know? Have a nice day.